I just won $1 billion. Hey guys, my name is Rian and I just won $1 billion. Can you believe it? A few days ago, I was just like any other teenager trying to live an average teenage life. But before I tell you exactly how I won $1 billion and just what I plan on doing with all that money, you should probably know my backstory. My whole life, I have been trying to do good. I walked to school every day, saved up my allowance, and often gave it out to the poor kids at the orphanage. On the weekends, I do volunteer work at an elderly people's home and the orphanage downtown. With all these good deeds, my appointment at Santa's helper is probably long overdue. But a few weeks before I applied for college, my high school teacher advised me to apply for Who Wants to Be a Billionaire contest. At first, I was pretty skeptical about it, but my teacher believed that if anyone could win it, it was definitely me, especially since I was a model student with straight A's. My mom tried to be super supportive of me and she even encouraged me to go for it. But I wasn't foolish enough to ignore the cloud of disbelief in her eyes. But by some miracle, I actually qualified for the competition. And even crazier, I just won $1 billion. Now I know you are probably thinking, great, he's probably a do-gooder that would gift about 99.9% to the poor. Or even worse, maybe start up a global enterprise and give 50% of my yearly earnings to the poor. But I have been giving my whole life, and if my daily allowance of $50 was summed up, it would probably cost way over $1 billion. This was obviously heaven's way of telling me that I had earned my keep. So this time, I am definitely listening to MJ, cause it's time to make a change. And I am starting with the man in the mirror. The first thing I did was visit one of the most expensive salons in Los Angeles. Then I got myself a brand new look. Kanye spends $500 on a daily haircut. Phew, that was nothing. I spent $5,000 in a single sitting. $5,000 on a single haircut. That's amazing. But that was literally the cheapest purchase I made. Cause a few moments later, I pulled up to the car dealer and splashed out a mind-blowing sum of $2.5 million on a brand new Bugatti Veyron. My mom tried telling me to take a chill pill or at least donate some of my wealth to the poor, or better yet, invest in a new franchise. But I started to ignore her calls and moved straight out of her home to a brand new mansion in Hollywood Hills. But I didn't just want the ultimate billionaire lifestyle. I was ready to live the classy celebrity lifestyle. Driving in a vehicle worth $2.5 million? That's for rich kids. So this time I went all out to purchase an Airbus A380 private jet worth a jaw-dropping sum of $600 million. All the popular kids kept sending me friend requests, and soon we started dropping off at the most exclusive clubs in my brand new jet. Unfortunately, every purchase meant I was a few million short of cash, and soon I ran out of money. All I had was a big new private jet with no money to fuel, and a stately mansion with a modern kitchen and no food to eat. My friends realized how broke I was and eventually started parting ways with me. I suddenly realized all my shortcomings and decided to take a trip to my mom's house to apologize for my wrongdoings. On my way to my mom's house, I had absolutely no idea what to expect, but was incredibly surprised when she burst into tears and welcomed me with a warm hug. I narrated all my experiences and how I had spent all my prize money without a care in the world. Afterwards, I apologized for all the wrongdoings and asked her if I could move back home again. After moving back home, I decided to sell my Hollywood Hills mansion and donate the money to my favorite elderly people home. The next thing on my sale list was my brand new Airbus private jet, which I had absolutely no use for. I founded a charity foundation with my mom and a clothing brand which offered 10% of its profits to the poor. I soon reattained my billionaire's status and became one of the most recognized humanitarians around the world. But I didn't just stop there. I realized that pride comes before a fall, and you should always strive to help others, regardless of your position in life. So I attended numerous press conferences around the world and told others of my story. Hello everyone and welcome back to Toontiestales. Kindly click the like button if you have enjoyed this video, and don't forget to click the subscribe button for more interesting and inspiring content. I hung out with the popular kids. Hello everyone and welcome back to Toontiestales. In this video, we will be telling you the story of a boy named Josh. Hi, I'm Josh. My father died in a car accident a few years after I was born. My mother has single-handedly raised me since then. My mom works as a nurse in an elderly people's home, so she often comes home late from work. I understand how tasking it can be to be a full-time nurse, so on most days, I prepare dinner before my mom comes home. While my mother couldn't exactly afford to get me the best things in life or the coolest toys as a kid, but I have always appreciated her efforts. In school, the other kids would often make fun of me because I was always wearing hand-me-downs, but I never let it get to me. Later on, I decided to get a part-time job so that I could afford to purchase new clothes and also help pay some bills. My mother was initially against it, but when I told her how bored I was with nothing to do after school, she finally gave in. I got a job at a nearby cafe and people loved me for my ability to whip up the perfect drink to kickstart their day. As soon as I started making more bucks, I treated my mom to some really nice presents and started dropping off fruits for the aged people at my mom's workplace. I also upgraded my wardrobe and started saving toward college. Things were going pretty well. The other kids at school were finally waving back at me and I even made new friends. One day, Sebastian, one of the cool kids, walked up to me. He told me I was a pretty cool guy with a nice build and I could easily fit into his crew. I was thrilled. Finally, this was the promotion I had been dreaming of, from loser to cool dude. The next day, I sat down with Sebastian and his friends and laughed at their crass jokes. After school, they took me to a shopping mall and I saw the others picking different things and stuffing them in their pocket. I was so stunned by their actions that I stopped in my tracks. But they all stared at me and suggested that I do the same. I panicked at that moment and they all started snickering at me. I decided to grab 2 Snicker bars and act casual like others. We all paid for 1 item each at the cashier desk and headed straight for Sebastian's car. Sebastian suggested that we go and play video games at his house, but I told them that I was running late for my part-time job. They laughed at this and told me that I could always take a sick leave. After we played games and had fun for a while, I realized that I arrived home later that night to meet my angry mom, with her hands on her hips, staring straight at me. I wondered why she had arrived earlier from work and she had an angry look on her face, but I said nothing. My mom angrily asked me where I had been and why I had not answered any of my calls. I unlocked my phone and suddenly realized that I had numerous missed calls from my mom and from my workplace. She also asked me why she had gotten calls that I didn't make it to my workplace. Memories of the day's events flashed across my mind, but I kept my eyes glued to my shoes and said nothing. My mother walked toward me and stared at me with an earnest expression on her face. She held my shoulders and told me that I'd always been a good kid and she was so proud of me. She asked me where I had been and I felt so moved by guilt that I had no choice but to tell her. I half expected my mom to admonish me and punish me for my wrongdoings. But instead, she hugged me and thanked me for confiding in her. She also told me that she knew what it was like to be picked on and how hard it could be to grow up so fast because your parents were never there when you needed them the most. She told me to never change myself to fit into other people's standards, and she promised to make more time for me. My mom and I hugged once more, and the next day, Sebastian and other kids walked up to me, asking me to join them in beating up a smaller-sized kid, but I refused. I went back to my old friends and apologized to them for abandoning them in pursuit of popularity, but they gladly offered me a seat. I realized that my actions might earn me the enmity of Sebastian and his gang, but I didn't care. I decided to enroll at a gym to better protect myself and other kids from Sebastian and his gang. I also learned to accept myself and my mom quirky personality. My mom was right, you should never change your standards to fit into other people's standards, especially when there is wrong. That's all on today's video. Don't forget to click the bell button for instant notifications on new videos. Also check out our channel for more inspiring and entertaining content.